Hey guys, welcome to another Breakwall Breakdown. I'm Captain Luke with Artemis Charters. If you're interested in setting up a charter, go ahead and hit me on Instagram at Artemis Charters. Shoot me a message. We'll set something up. Let's get into this breakdown. So I went out on Wednesday. Wednesday, water temperature had risen to 59. I want to say last week it was in the low 50s, so say easily an 8-degree rise in temperature. We ended up with a 31 fish night. A lot came on the craws, some on the flukes, catching some on the small paddle tails. Kind of sticking to that small paddle tail fluke formula, but they were hitting the craws a little bit more than they'd been hitting them recently. Now let's move forward into Friday night. Friday night we saw a jump, and I thought my fish finder was reading wrong. It said 63. I mean, maybe it is reading wrong. Maybe it's 62 or 61, but regardless, there's a large jump, and we saw a jump in activity. We ended up with a 41 fish night. Large fish being a 5-pound sand bass. As we moved forward into Saturday night, we saw another temperature increase, 64.8 in the water. And we saw fish increase with that temperature increase. We ended up having a 91 fish night. Now, I don't want to say that this is just because of the temperature increase, although that helps. Also, the fish were spawning. They were not spawning Wednesday, but we noticed that they were spawning on Friday. We noticed they were spawning on Saturday. Interesting to note, there were sand bass mixed in and none of the sand bass were spawning. Also interesting to note, just fishing from the outside of the wall to just on the inside. You turn that corner, nothing on the inside was spawning. We caught quite a few on the inside both days. And again, nothing spawning on the inside, but definitely a spawn going on the outside. Now, on Saturday, we were getting them on flukes and on small paddle tails before the sun went down. Once the sun went down, all they wanted was creatures. A lot of our catches were caught on the sudden impact punch craw, and a lot were caught on the sudden impact HDX craw. It didn't matter what you were fishing them on. You could fish them on the Texas rig, you could fish them on a jig head, you could fish them on a neck breaker. It was all working. Which way works better is up for debate, but it all worked. It all worked. We had a really high count number with the big fish coming in mid 4-pound range. Normally on a night with those kind of numbers, I'll start fishing larger baits, trying to get larger fish. You know, you get an active night, increase your bait size. You decrease your fish count, but you increase your quality. And I'll tell you what, I tried quite a few times switching to bigger profile baits. Nothing. They didn't want anything larger, and they only seemed to want craws. And you know, that could change any night. Just the night before on Friday, we were still getting a lot on craws, but we were still getting them on paddle tails. And it just goes to show how you got to keep changing, keep looking, and keep seeing what the flavor of the night is. Hey guys, what's up? Sorry to interrupt with this commercial break, but I gotta let you know, I got my captain's license now. If you want to book a charter, hit me on Instagram, Artemis Charters. Shoot me a DM, we'll set something up. Big news, Waterman's Collective is going to be selling the Artemis shirts. First design, Shark vs. Calico. It comes out June 1st. Waterman's Collective has a raffle coming up. Raffle starts this Saturday, June 1st. It's going to run all the way till July 2nd. He's raffling off a brand new rod, red, white, and blue. I got a couple sneak peeks. It looks pretty sick. Any purchase of $30 or more gets you a raffle ticket. You purchase $75 or more, you get 3 tickets. The only way to get tickets is through making purchases. You can't just purchase tickets. You gotta buy gear. Go ahead and check out that Waterman's site. They've got tackle, they've got baits. He's got all sorts of stuff, including the Shark vs. Calico t-shirt. All right, and other news about the breakwall, not necessarily pertaining to the outer breakwall, but I got a little intel. My dad went out this morning, Monday morning, on his kayak to Cabrillo, fished the inner Cabrillo area, ended up with 9 calico. Every one of them legal or over. I think up to 19 inch was his largest. Same thing, he's seeing the warmer temperatures in there. He's seeing more aggressive fish biting higher in the water column. And now, on that note of higher in the water column, on our previous 3 trips this week, we were catching them up high in the rocks, and I was seeing them on the screen higher in the water column, and occasionally we'd get bit higher in the water column on the fall, but we couldn't seem to play things high in the water column and get any sort of commitment out of it. But one of the things we would do is halfway back to the boat, reel it up quickly, get it up towards the surface, drop it down again, and occasionally get caught on that drop. But as far as playing in that upper 10 feet, they just weren't seeming to want to be, they just weren't seeming to want to have anything to do with it, even though they were there. So it seemed like most of our stuff was coming just inside of the kelp, towards the rocks, and we'd have to fight them through the kelp, and occasionally right when we broke the bait through the kelp and then put it in free fall. Those seem to kind of be the zones. But yeah, if you're on a kayak, we've got that warmer weather. I don't know if there will be a spawn in the inner areas. I'm not quite sure how that works, but I can tell you from the fish my dad caught this morning, none of them seem to be spawning. I also don't know, and it'd be nice to know, so if you know, leave it in the comments, but it'd be nice to know how often they spawn, how many times a year. But yeah, doing these reports, I guess we're going to have something at the end of this year to look back on and see how many times I reported that we were seeing the spawn. And I'm interested to see if we find sand bass in the future spawning in close. Another thing to take note of is in San Diego, we're seeing those red crab move in. Even though they've moved out here to chewing on crustaceans a bit more, and I'm actually going to put a picture up right now, and if you look, these highlighted green areas are where its teeth are worn down. Last couple weeks, we've had extremely sharp-toothed bass. I wear a glove when I handle them typically because I handle so many in the course of a weekend. Some of these were getting me through the leather thumb on my glove, and I'm now seeing more of a worn down areas in the mouths, just showing how much they're queuing in on crabs right now. But on that note, we haven't seen the red crab influx up here yet, but I'd keep an eye out for it. I'd potentially even start buying some red crab baits now, stock up your box a little bit, because I remember in the past we'd get these times where the red crab moved in and you just couldn't find red baits, and that was just the reality. They only wanted baits that were red, and everyone was sold out of them, and as soon as a shop would get in, they'd all fly off the shelf overnight. So start stocking up on some red right now. Alright guys, we're getting into that part of the video where we do the Q&As. So let's get into it. If you guys got any questions, leave them in the comments down below. I'll try to answer them in the comments so you can have your answer right away, but then I'll bring it up in the next video for anyone else who might be interested. So let's go through last week's comments. Salty Bastards, loving the hat. Yeah, I do love the hat. Thank you, Jeff. T-Fishes, always love watching these. It's really cool to see someone like T, who's one of the guys I was kind of looking up to when I started. It's cool to see him watching what I'm doing. Really enjoy that. So I've got a comment on here from Schnur Salami. I'm probably saying that wrong. Dude, if you're watching this, feel free to DM me and send me how to say your name, but he makes really cool YouTube videos. Give him a watch. He wrote, dang, some great video. Glad to hear it wasn't just slow for me. I definitely need to get out there and learn more spots because I've got absolutely no clue. And that's 100% true. That's why we call it time on the water, because all this info just helps. Ultimately, you got to get your time on the water. I want to give you what I can give you to make your time on the water better. But it's all just clues, right? Ultimately, we got to find our spots. And me and you might fish the same spot, but fish it differently, which makes a difference too. So, you know, time on the water, you're absolutely right. Time on the water, find those spots, explore. That's half the fun right there. What are your go-to rod blanks for fishing the wall? I personally like Rain Shadow. That's what I personally use. That's what if I'm building my own, that's what I'm usually building. iRod makes a good rod. I like what they're doing. I know Performance makes a good rod. They do a good custom. I get my stuff from Grant at Waterman's Collective. That's who I'm personally using. There's another couple companies out there that, you know, I'm not going to publicly name companies I don't like and say what I think is negative about their product. I will say those companies I just mentioned are all good companies who I would buy a rod from. Aaron says, what about fishing the wall or PV during the day? I see you do a lot of night fishing. So fishing PV during the day can be totally awesome. I've had some really good trips fishing PV during the day. If you want to watch one of them, go to the Artemis playlist and look up Seeking Kelp. That was a really cool video. But this is my personal opinion. During the day, if we have a really good day, it's like a 30 fish day. If I have a 30 fish day at night, it's okay. I'm looking to get 40 plus fish at night. During the day, and you know, it's always different, right? You'll see plenty of big stuff caught during the day. I have found that the trophy chasing I want to do with the style I'm fishing works better at night. And that's what I'm going with. Aaron also asked me, how do you know which areas are not legal wall areas? So the information's really hard to get. If you go to my, let me look this up. If you go onto my Instagram, onto my homepage, you're gonna see the highlight right here, and it says no fishing. You click on that no fishing, and I've got the little bit of information that I was able to compile. As more people send me more info, I'll put it on there, just because there's nowhere that I know of where we can just easily go look at this info. So I'm trying to kind of make a little hub where if people send the info they get, we can all have a spot we can look at it. Normally on Instagram, I post a Q&A to ask questions for this video. I forgot to do that. I don't know what to tell you guys, but that's the truth. I forgot to do that. So I got the questions from last week that we went over. And like I said, if you guys got any questions, comments, put them down there underneath the video, and I'll address them next week. But yeah, I really appreciate all you guys tuning in. If you're interested in t-shirts, hit up Waterman's Collective website. He's got his raffle going on. Tomorrow we have our live, Time on the Water live. Our guest is going to be California Current. He does some really cool stuff. I know he fishes with my buddy Nate Stilo quite a bit, so I'm excited to talk to him. It's always cool talking to a friend of a friend. So hopefully you guys tune in tomorrow for that. 6 p.m. Pacific time. And you know, one of the things I like about our Time on the Water live is that I feel like we're not a podcast. Podcasts are cool. I love listening to them. But I feel like we do a little bit more kind of just hanging out and talking fishing. So you can get on there live in the comments, ask your own questions, tell your own stories. And just a fun experience for us to all kind of just hang out and talk fishing. So if you're still watching, thank you so much. I really appreciate the support. DM me to book a trip. And hopefully I'll be seeing you guys tomorrow on the live.